This is Clark Smith. I'm the director of the Best of Appellation Tasting Panel for Appellation America. And to facilitate our working with wineries, I have asked Roger King, who is my boss. He's the CEO of Appellation America and also a grower down in Sassoon Valley and has his own little winery there. And he's much more familiar with the back end of our website than I am. And so I've asked him to come in and teach me how to update my webpage that Appellation America has made for me and for every other winery in the U.S. and Canada. And I'd like to go in there and update my wine list and add some of the medals that I've gotten from other places and from Appellation America, and generally turn that into a site that tells my story. So I've asked him to guide me through the process, and I'm doing a little screen capture video with Roger and making that available to other wineries that may want to use it. Please go in, and the site is free, and please get your information in there so that we can tell the stories of American wines together.
Here we go. Then we're going to go log in. And we're going to type in it's important to know how you have put this in from a case sensitivity basis. So when you're logging in or when you're getting this stuff, you have to really pay attention. Okay, and the system assigned user is 5286. Oh, now we're going to hit login or sign in. And it wants, okay, now what we have hit is a change of password. So the system automatically wants the winery to enter its own information from a security standpoint.
Okay, let me, I know what, I'll put the password in.
So we're going to put in, first off, okay, now we're right. It's a reconfirmation of the password. So this is the first thing that a winery will see if the record has been opened for the winery. We are now on the primary winery database build page. This is our suite of services. You can look at it as a toolbox. There is a top navigation bar, and this is all relevant to your profile pages. You've got a home button, you've got a winery page details, you've got your wine list, which would be all of your current releases. You've got a winery map, which is a Google point of reference map. You do not need to have your geocodes. You can set your location by simply placing the red bottle where you are at. You can use the map to drill down to find where you are. Once you find your street and location, you just simply click that area and the bottle will appear there, and you go down, and we'll see how to do that. Awards and accolades, this is an area where if you're enabled through one of our programs, we allow wineries to bring in all the external awards and accolades that various current wines have and assign them to the wine so that you can get distinction for that. The appellation sponsorship allows a winery to, for a fee of $150 annually, sponsor the appellation page of where that winery is primarily located. In other words, if my winery is in Lodi and I want to sponsor the appellation page for Lodi, or in the case of Lodi, there's actually 7 sub-apps out there as well. You can sign up for that program, and your brand logo is present on the site for the entire year in that area. Best of Appellation program relates to participation in that program. It's a submission program of wines for third-party evaluation with a focus to definition of diversity of site. But it results for defining wines that are selected by the review panels. Best of appellation insignias will come onto the wines in your wine list. That will also, you'll see those wines come up into the best of appellation wine list for that appellation, like Lodi, and things of that nature. Past orders is something we don't use anymore. It related to the original retailing of the site. We have a different program right now, which is immediately next door to that, which is Direct Marketing Partners. And that is a $25 a year fee-based program that allows you to assign buy now buttons to wines on your wine list, and you attach a URL to that button, and it allows you to have the viewer in Appalachian America fully transferred out of our site and deposited on the page of your choice via the URL you load in to purchase wine. So if they are looking at a given wine on your wine list, that button should be URL coded to that specific wine on your own website wine list, so that when they click that button, the viewer will be transferred directly to that wine. And in that area, we're no longer involved. The customer is fully with you, and the transaction takes place fully through your own systems. We have nothing to do with that. So we can start out by looking at your winery page. This is the first free marketing tool, and the page is actually much more than a page, because it encompasses elements of winery description, contact information, visitation information, the wine list, the map locations, and winery and vineyard details. Fully developed, your winery page can result in content of between 3 to 4 pages inside of Appalachian America. So this is significantly more than just a list, i.e. putting your name on a list inside of someone saying, I'm here. This is really, in many regards, we really encourage wineries to consider this as a satellite website inside of a huge North American wine database. We view it as a sample page, or we can view the actual page that you have out there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit. And clicking that brings us to the data entry page. This is where you're actually live loading data from your winery into Appalachian America. Again, it indicates it's a free service. We're never going to be charging for this. It will reside there as long as the site is out there in the world. First thing a winery does is enter their street address, other addresses. The other address and street address, think of it this way. The street address will be the primary address of where you would have a consumer choose to want to find you. So for wineries that operate on-site tasting rooms, on the grounds of the winery, these can be one and the same. However, if I am a production winery, or I might even be a custom crush client, and I don't really want the consumer coming to the street address, I can enter in my information on other address, and that would be my business address of where I run my business out of. So again, Custom Crush Winery XYZ, working out of Bonded Winery Y at 510 whatever street. I'm not want to put that in there, but on the other address, I'm going to put where my physical business is located from a more of an administrative standpoint as opposed to a customer come see you standpoint. So we would look, there's two different addresses.
Let me go ahead and update some of this stuff now that I understand that.
Okay, so Clark is going to put in.
I am exactly in that situation. I have a business kind of mailing address, but and I have a Custom Crush Winery where I wouldn't necessarily want the folks to come. So but they can mail stuff to me here.
There we go.
Mini would be best.
Okay, so we got the city, the state, province. Remembering Appalachian America's Canada and U.S. You have a drop. You can't type in the state or province. It's a drop down, and you select it off of that. And here, Clark's put in California. The zip code goes in. The country of origin is important in Appalachian America because we are a two-country oriented site, Canada, United States. So it's going to give you one of two. Our current view does not go past North America. So there won't be things from Europe or South America or anything like that to put in here, but you've got the choice of Canada, US. Then you enter phone number, fax, email. Other emails will deposit themselves into the extended list of contacts for your winery, which we will get to a little bit later. But you can add 7 to 10 contacts inside of your winery. So if you have a tasting room manager, a winemaker, a sales and marketing director, a trade relations director, all of that contact information can be put into the contact part here in a little bit. The next area is winery description. This is an 80-word count, so kind of think like a bit like Twitter, but don't use Twitter vocabulary, Twitter spelling. Use the normal English. What you want to do with this is to basically, in essence, give the consumer your elevator business description. What do you do? What are you? And you've got 80 words in here in which to make that work, but you're going to define what your winery does. Don't worry about saying I'm in this state doing that. It's already in the database. But what it can reflect to is we are a Rhone-oriented winery, or we are a Bordeaux-oriented winery, or we are a white-oriented winery producing wines of, if you produce multiple appellation wines, you can say, we work across multiple appellations with these types of fruit, or if you are a winery that is avant-garde and doing natural fermentations and this, that, and the other thing, you can speak to it here. It's a chance to define who you are in a quick, concise fashion. So that takes some thought. It's more than just dumping brochure copy in there. It's something that is really educating the viewer in a concise fashion as to what you are. The next area we have in this is winery information. This is about people coming to the tasting room. So visit the winery. Now remember, in another section of your profile, we will have a Google map. But here, what you can do is you can, and many wineries do, type in detailed instructions of how to find your winery in a location. A lot of wineries are not readily, intuitively found just by looking at a map or looking at an address, because sometimes they're, you got to go down this alley and up this side street to find that address. And how do I get from the main freeway that everybody might know, or how do I get out of the center of town that someone can relate to your winery? And here, think tasting room. Do not think I'm going to the winery. Think, how do I find where your wine is located? That's the best use of that, because it's about visitation. The futures, if you're in that business, if you have a chance to define how you play the game. That's up to each and every person out there. Winemaker name, this is now a part of how we get to expand our contact a little bit. Who is actually doing the work? If they're notable, you want to build it out. If it's you and no one knows who it is, you can be your own best critic or own best detractor. Annual case production, it's not a factor in how anything works inside of Appalachian America in terms of people being able to see your winery, but it does, it just builds your database a little bit. Now we're going to go to vineyard information. First thing, is, we have wineries that are estate vineyard. We have wineries that buy fruit. We have wineries that do a lot of different things, buy bulk wine, repackage it, things of that. So if you are an estate vineyard acreage, you're going to type a little bit here about that. What varietals you grow, how many acres you have. You could discuss a little bit here about maybe some of your vit practices. Everything's vertical shoot position, or it's on an open lyre, or I love California sprawl, things of that nature. It further allows the geeks that frequent Appalachian America all the good little juicy details that they really want to know about. Now, grape varietals planted. This is about what grapes you are actually growing and dealing with, not necessarily what grapes that you might be buying from someone else. So this is about your vineyard. If you've got 15 or 20 different grapes, you're going to find them in this drop down. The way this works is you locate a grape, and we could say Albarino here, and you click that grape. Then you come over and you see the add button. Push the add button, and that brings it to one of your varieties. If you mistakenly put in a variety, you highlight that variety over on your varieties and come down and you click the delete. And what all that does is it takes it off of your varietal list. It doesn't take it off our list of comprehensive list of grapes. So you go through and find all the grapes that you grow and bring them in. Every one of those grapes will be listed in your winery profile page. And the interesting thing with that is they will come over hotkeyed and will allow the user to click on that grape name, Albarino as an example, on your winery page, and it will take the viewer directly to our grape definition and explanation of what Albarino is, or Cabernet Franc or Cabernet Sauvignon. So it allows for people that have some cutting edge fruit, or just don't do Chard and Cabernet and have some things that maybe people aren't fully aware of, that they can get some definition on what is this grape that they make into wine that they call Albarino. And so it enhances your ability to, in essence, sell your product. So we've done the basics here, and now it's down to we got to put it in the site. So you'll see a submit button and you'll see a cancel button. What we would do if we're comfortable with the information that we've put in here, and remember we're in an edit mode, so if there is information that was already loaded there, when we submit this new information, it's going to overwrite everything and put in this. If there was some old piece of information that you desperately wanted to keep in your page, you need to save that off to the side, maybe like on a Word document or something like that, so that in case that you really wanted it back in, you still have that to re-enter, coming through the same process all over again. So we would hit submit. And now that data is going off, and thank you for your submission. Your winery information has been added to the winery page. And within 24 hours, we're going to take care of that for you, and we push the OK before it comes public in the site. And we simply will, on a daily basis, we take a look in our admin, and we see these things are there, and we take a quick look, and we approve it to go live. Or if there's a problem, we get back to you. So let's log into this thing again. And we're going to sign in again. Okay, same screen we're back to, but we have entered all of the information. Now, let's view the page as it exists right now. So we'll click on View Page. The way the site is constructed, it's a massive database that builds pages on the fly. So it reaches into all aspects of the database that have been coded and finds all the various elements that have been loaded into this page and assembles them into what we now have in front of us. We have a Winesmith logo, or actually label. This is for a Roman Syrah, if I can read that right. The email of the winery, which came off the contact, is sitting here. The address and things like that are things that we activate when we take your winery live. And with Winesmith, they have enrolled in the Direct Marketing Partners program. So you see here this Buy Our Wine button. This indicates that you can buy wine off of this page, again, directly from the site. If you're not in the DMP program, this little icon will not be here. Below that is Best of Appellation. This is an award-winning winery. It has submitted wines to Best of Appellation. They have been reviewed and evaluated by the panel and have been determined to be distinctive and representative of the appellation that that wine originated from. Now, Winesmith can be in Sebastopol, but if Winesmith produced, say, a Gruner Veltliner from Pennsylvania, was submitted and became Best of Appellation, that wine is going to be a Pennsylvania wine, and it will come forward in Pennsylvania Best of Appellation wine lists onto the Pennsylvania appellation page and things of that nature. So it does represent a very wide-spanning marketing projection of information for wineries that are doing wines out of various areas. You know, there are a number of people that do those types of things. There's a California winery that makes a Michigan Riesling. That is considered one of the best in the United States, and that's how that would work there. Here's our description now, sitting down underneath. We type this in, and this is the little snapshot on what Winesmith's all about. It's in the area that the person's focal point is going to come to right now, and allows them to get a quick reference. Now below that is the Google mapping. It starts out at, I don't know, I guess you'd call this 30 or 40,000 feet, but by clicking the plus button here, you can dial this thing all the way down. As far as Google will let you take it, based upon what their satellite imagery is, you can pretty well get down to see the building from the roof and know exactly what's around it. But it's a good way for people that are in the business with a tasting room, and they really want someone to be able to understand how they can get a map to find me. Here it is. Again, if you go back to how we loaded addresses, this is a good example of why, if you do not have a physical tasting room, you do not want to put the bottle on your physical location, business office location, because a person will see that as that's where I go to get wine from that, and that may not work out the best for you. And this can be, if you don't want mapping, the map will always be there, but if you don't want mapping, what you'll just see is a Google map of the United States with no reference whatsoever, a bottle or anything like that. Now down underneath the map, here is a little description on that, and here's visiting the winery. And currently there is no information for Winesmith because Winesmith is not in a position where he wants visitation. So he has not added directions on how to visit the winery. If you do have a tasting room, and for some, like let's say out in Lodi, there's a lot of multi-winery tasting rooms that have popped up on Main or School Street in downtown Lodi. And even though the winery's got a tasting room out at the physical facility, they may be in that multi-winery tasting room. And so you want to be able to direct the visitor specifically to where you really want them to come. We don't have dual mapping capacity here right now, but you can do that in terms of visiting the winery. You can break out, here's how you get to go here, here's how you get to go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've gotten back to the suite of tools. We've taken a look at the page so far. We've got this basic information in, description, contact, visiting wine. We have not put a wine list in yet. And here we go. We have got the wine list. Now, if you're a brand new winery to the site, you'll come to this page and there will be no wines here. What there will be is a thing that says current listings, and you'll have this, your wine list, and it gives you some information. We encourage you to keep this wine list updated and accurate, and what we're really looking for there is current releases. Doesn't mean it has to be every wine that you currently have as a release. An example would be I've got XYZ library wine that I only sell in my tasting room. I don't sell it anywhere else. So I really don't necessarily may not want this thing to be visible on this wine list, so I don't enter it here. All my mainstay releases I certainly want to have here. Library wines are not the best thing to enter on here unless they are something that has some real historical value or things of that nature. Remember, the consumer's trying to figure out how to find you, how to understand your wine, and potentially how to buy it from your tasting room or through our DMP program. And here we have got, the Winesmith has a number of wines already here. We can see on this current page, and this is a great example, the Winesmith hasn't done a very good job of keeping his wine list current. We have got some old vintages in here that some of them probably are sold, like a 2003 Faux Chablis. That'd be a pretty old white wine. So what that tells you is that Winesmith needs to do a little maintenance on their wine list. And we'll get to that in a second. But to start a wine list is relatively simple. What you're going to see is under current listings, you're going to see a thing that says add new wine. And that's about all you're going to see there. You'll see kind of a sample concept that has got a line struck through it so that you know that that is not something that's going to go in. And then here, because Winesmith is in direct marketing partners, you have this little widget here that allows him to assign buy now buttons to the various wines. If you're a winery that enters into the site, and remember, every winery has a complimentary profile for life in here, and you have not chosen to want to sell your wines through this channel, this button is not going to be there if you have not engaged direct marketing partners. And that's something that you work separately with us on, and we'll get to that. But anyway, that's what that's about. Now, to add a wine, you're simply going to click Add a Wine. And that is going to bring you up a wine loading page. Now, it starts out with wine style, and we've got red, white, rosé, sparkling, all in a drop-down that you can see here. You're going to check, or you know, we'll just kind of build a fictitious wine here, let's say. So we're going to call it a white wine.
Why don't we add the penny farthing 2007 Barbera?
Okay, we're going to do a red wine. Okay, so we're going to click red. Now, on vintage year, type in not what the current year is, but type in what the vintage year is on that wine. So we got a 2007 vintage for this wine. Now we come down to product name. Product name is what's appearing on the label. So if you just simply say it's Barbera, type in Barbera. If you call your wine on your label Jumping Jack Barbera, then you'll type in Jumping Jack Barbera. In this case, we have Penny Farthing Barbera for Winesmith. So that is the product name. Then we come down to vineyard designation. Again, this is something that is on the label. And remember, vineyard designation requires, as a winery, 85% of the juice in the bottle has got to be, 95% of the juice in the bottle has got to be from that specific vineyard. So do not think in terms of doing a vineyard designation. One, if it's not on the label, and two, it has to really, to be correct, it has to follow TTB legal requirements on what a vineyard designation is. And again, if you're a state, I grow my grapes on my property, I don't designate the vineyard because it's on my property. Everything is estate. I don't buy grapes from anything else. You just simply type in estate here. Remember, the site compends pages. Don't think in terms of how this has to look. Just think in terms of the data that's going in. So I would type in estate, or I type in a vineyard designation. Now we come down to appellation. We have every single appellation in North America in our database. So this is not something you type in. You simply hit the drop-down arrow and alphabetically find the appellation that wine is appellated to on the bottle. Now, in this case, Penny Farthing Barbera is a California appellated wine. And so that's done. Now the next thing we do is we come down to the grape varietal components. And remember, we got a lot of geeks out there, so people kind of like to see this stuff from time to time. So the first thing you do is you find the grape. Then there is a little checkoff box that sits here. And that checkoff is about the varietal are coming from the appellation. Now, what that means is that on the wine list, that appellation is going to show up to the public. If I've got a Barbera that is from California, but I have put 2% Pinot Noir from Oregon into this Barbera because that's just how I felt the blend was going to be, I can put Pinot Noir in here, but I'm on the next wine down, but I'm not going to check that box that it's from the same appellation. Then you come over to what's happened here. 90% of this wine is Barbera, and now 10% is Syrah, and it is from the same appellation. And I put 10 in, and that makes 100. So now we have got our appellation finished. Then the last step on entering this wine is, and this is an option if you want to or not. This is not required. You enter the price point, and we give you price points to enter based upon the size of the bottle, from 250 milliliter all the way up through 9-liter large format. 750 is what most of us always have, except for sweets, desserts, stuff like that. So you enter it in. You type in all digits with, so here 14.00 is $14. And you do want to do that. If you have a real oddball size that no one has ever heard of, you can enter it down here and put the price point in. Now we have got that wine loaded and ready to enter to your wine list. So you would check submit. All right, hopefully. What this now does is it brings you back to the wine list load page, and the first thing you'll notice is here is the new Penny Farthing Barbera sitting here. For brand new wines that are not on the list, that's the process that you go through. Now, there is another set of processes that we can add a new vintage wine for the same thing and really save a lot of steps. We cannot go back to edit the 2005 Albarino and change the date. Okay, on the Chardonnay, Penny Farthing Chardonnay, and we're going to click that cross. What that's going to do is it brings up the entire database that has already been loaded for this wine, which in that case was an older vintage. And the only thing you really need to do is come to the vintage year and type in the new vintage year. So the new vintage year for the new Penny Farthing Chardonnay is 2007 now, or 2009. Now we go straight to the bottom, unless you want to edit a little bit here. Maybe it is the appellation's changed to something on your new Chardonnay, or you've changed your blend. It's not 100%, and I put something in there, or those things, or I changed my price point. I'm not $10 anymore, and I decided it's going to be $14, and that's it, and I hit submit. And go ahead, and when that's done, you'll see that we're going to bring ourselves right back to the wine list. And now I've got 2009 Penny Farthing Chardonnay sitting here. It's in black.
I think I'll go ahead and erase this old one.
And now we've got the old one here, and so we come over and we hit the red cross. And that deletes the older wine from the database, and it's out. Now, if I was looking at my penny farthing Chardonnay listing here for 2009 and go, oh, Jesus, I spelled the farthing wrong, or I got the wrong price point in here. All I need to do is to come over and hit this little multicolored pencil, and this allows me to go back to that record and enter anything that I want to in here. I get that done, and I just hit submit again, and that will take me back to the main entry screen. So in two fashions, you have the ability to come through here, add new wines to your wine list. I may have never made a certain type of wine, so it's not here, and I'll go through the process of building it out by adding a new wine. Or I do have a new vintage on Chardonnay, and I just want to update the vintage, and actually all the information is basically the same, so I save myself a lot of time.
Let me ask you a question, Roger. I've got that Albarino is gone, but it did receive a Best of Appellation way back when, and I'd kind of like to keep that review visible on the wine list page, kind of as an older vintage.
Well, that's a function of the function of the site. Specifically, speak to, it's an older one, and I really like the information to stick up. Once a Best of Appellation logo has been assigned by the system to that wine, you cannot delete the wine out of the database. It stays in there forever. It might have been a great wine 15 years ago, and I haven't had a bottle of it for the last 12 years, but the system is going to remind consumers that years ago this was a defining wine of the appellation. And so it's a way in which a winery can, in essence, keep some credentials of what they have accomplished with their wines over a long period of time. And an interesting thing is, if I just use the edit pencil and come back to the record, the vintage date will not be, you cannot enter anything into that. The only way in which you change a vintage date is over here on this, and it's a function of the system so that it can keep the previous vintage wine in place. And sometimes, I released a brand new wine, but I still got 100 cases of last year's wine, and I sure as heck want to sell that stuff. So I don't want it off the list. And that's why we have this little idiosyncrasy thing here of this green cross, so that when I go and if I went and edited the existing wine and changed the date, well, now my previous vintage wine is no longer going to be there. It's just going to say it's the new date. By doing the green cross here, we can keep the previous date's wines in, and a lot of wineries may be packing 2 or 3 past vintages for retail sale on a Cabernet, or on a Gewürztraminer, or on a Chambourcin, or on a St. Pippin. Okay, so we've gotten some wines in. We've built the wine list. Every time that you release a new vintage, you should be thinking about coming back, entering the site, updating your wine list. The site uses this wine list to populate information about your wines everywhere throughout the site where it's appropriate, on the appellation pages, on the BOA wine lists, on the wine recommendations. Everything triggers off of, this is where the wine information comes from. So if a wine is not entered here, we're not going to be able to see the results of you throughout the site where you should be present. Again, if I'm in California and I go to California Appellation and click on that, and then I want the list of wines from the appellation. Of course, California is going to be massive. The wine needs to be on your specific wine list for it to get into that list. If I'm going to go to Willow Creek up in Humboldt County that has 2 wineries in that AVA, it is going to be a pretty short list, but you're not going to be on the list if you have not put in the appellation that you have for that wine, in that case, Willow Creek. So that's just some strategy and tactic of how to maximize the benefit of the site. Now, we're going to go to winery awards and accolades, and this might solve a bit of the question of what we're doing here. This is an area where you can assign external accolades to wines. It is by using these little icons that you can put on there. It is part of our direct marketing program, and so for those that are in the program at $25 a year, it's a free service. And you can bring in all kinds of things that you may have won on those wines. Again, we don't see Best of Appellation here because the Best of Appellation insignia is assigned by the site once the wine has been established and entered into the site through our evaluation panel and our admin as a BOA award-winning wine. You do not have the liberty of just defining that that's a Best of Appellation wine all by myself because I say it is. It actually has to be done by the formal process we go through. But the external stuff, if you're in DMP, you can bring in medals and awards from fairs, competitions. You can enter things like being able to. I had a 95-point score from Parker, and I'm the most important winery on earth, or wherever you want to go with that. But that's what happens with this. Now I'm going to backstep a space, and we're going to go to Winery Map, and this is your Google geocoding. And if you happen to know specifically what your latitude and longitude is, you just simply enter the numbers in up here. Most people in the real world don't have a clue what those numbers are and don't have a clue to find them. So the easier way in which to do this is to simply find yourself on the map, and you can just continue drilling down by hitting the plus button until you can get down to seeing streets and things of that nature. And you'll be pretty aware of the neighborhood you're in because you live there. And when you find exactly on the street where you know you are, you just simply click that area, and the red bottle will affix itself right there.
Well, this will. I did move across town, so why don't I go ahead?
Why don't you go ahead and move?
I can move that.
Now, I think most people know that the way in which, there you go.
Something like that. Oops.
You click it and just drop it. And there we go. Now you can, if you don't think that you got it right where it is, you just dial in tighter. And everybody should be aware of how you work a Google map. You just kind of hold down the right-hand key and you use that little hand to drag around the frame so you get to where you can see stuff. Putting the bottle in the middle of the screen is the best way in which to be able to drill down on that without losing your frame of reference in Google Maps. So as you continue to go down on the street to really see where you're at, where you want to push the bottle, just try and keep the thing centered in the screen, and it is pretty easy. Don't look at this as rocket science that I've got to put it exactly on the physical square inch of real estate that my facility holds, because this map is really being used as a point of reference by the viewer. It's not something that's being filed with the federal government. And so as long as you are within the block of the street that you're on, I think most people can figure it out at that point that, okay, I'm looking for a sign now, out, for the store or whatever it is.
It looks like what you really do is you put the hand to right where you want it to be.
Exactly. That's exactly what you do. That's exactly what you do.
You don't try to drag the bottle.
Yeah, no. You just put the hand where you want it. Okay? And that's how that works. Okay, now, same process. We come down to submit. Object has been moved here, and we're waiting for this thing to rebuild. Okay, now we're back to our nav bar. And I'm going to jump over to Appellation America program because we've been talking about that an awful lot. And here is the whole, this speaks to the entire process. This is not a data loading screen, but it does tell you what is going on with best of appellation evaluations. Who the evaluators are, how the process works, how wines can be submitted. We're really nuts about detail on data, and so there's a lot of forms that are to be filled out and come along with the wines. The submission form's the main one, and these are PDFs, so you can click on this, download it, and fill it out. The BOA program info and entry instructions is a PDF that tells you how to go step by step to submit a wine to us. And the product information form is a form created by a bunch of insane wine geeks that want to know everything there is to know about how you grew it and how you made it. And these guys are so insidious that they will drive you nuts trying with a form that takes a degree from MIT to fill in. But that's what they really want to see. If you can get any of it done, that's great. If you can't get any of it done, we'll work with you. And then BOA Facts is just kind of an overview to the program as well. So that's where all of that is. Once the wine's submitted, it gets into our process, into our programs, and the results, follow coming out of that. Now let's go back real quickly to appellation sponsorship, and this is simply some marketing inside the site that you may want to do for your brand. The appellation sponsorship logo, which is your winery logo or a label that you define as that's what I use as my logo, but here we've got Winesmith's logo. This is a fee program for $150 a year, and when signed into it, your logo is continuously showing up in the appellation page that you choose to sponsor. It starts with your physical appellation of location, but you can also choose by the way some of your wines are located in other appellations and things of that nature. It'll allow you to get that sponsorship image onto other appellation pages. So here for Winesmith, we see that Sonoma County, county appellation, he's on Clarksburg because he makes a wine from Clarksburg. He's on Clear Lake because he does one from there. Lodi, Napa, blah, 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 blah. So for the $150 a year fee, my branding is showing up on those appellation pages where consumers tend to come into. Not every page gets the same amount of traffic. The more esoteric an appellation, the less traffic it might get. But the more that you build awareness of that appellation through other things and people come into the site, the more traffic comes there, and more wineries that are there that are doing things, they're going to build traffic there, and you benefit from that traffic. This link on that page is simply a banner. You say, yes, I want to display my logo. You've loaded it in here. You click this, and that sends it off to us. We've submitted it, and the name, your name, your address, your title, your phone, all that kind of stuff is here, and you submit that. And then we're going to get back to you because we've got a little work to do on our side to ensure that the logo that you want has been loaded into our database, and we got the image that you want. And once we understand that, then we can impact it to those pages by approving it to those pages. So it doesn't automatically go there. We do charge for certain things to keep the lights turned on and the URL or the server paid and those kinds of things. But if you want to advertise your brand and put it across the pages of Appellation America where you think it's going to help you, that's a fashion in which you can do it. And now we have got one last thing, and that is the direct marketing partners. And this is the program details of how this thing all works. And this is a $25 a year flat fee, single payment program that allows you to construct the buy now buttons. You just read through the instructions, click the hot links to get more information on how this all works, and I'll go down to we're going to click this thing down here. And for Winesmith, he's bought into the program, and now, before, when we're doing the wine list, we were focused on the entry buttons. But here, this is where you use this widget to actually install the button onto the wine that you want. And one of the things that you can notice here is that Winesmith has decided he wants every single wine in the house available for pass-through. You may have a wine that you don't want to release through direct sales over the internet for whatever reason. You just simply don't install the button there. Starting out with the profile is totally free, never will be charged for, and then moving into how you build the information into it, then moving into how you can access add-on programs that are nominally fee-based that enhance your ability to either draw people to your wines based upon awards and accolades, or to access your wines for direct sale through your website by installing Buy Nows. There are a few other features in the direct marketing program that are not related to this specific data page. Direct marketing partners are included in what we call sommelier wine picks. A sommelier wine pick is a wine that has been submitted for Best of Appellation and has been given Best of Appellation status. It is also from a winery that's a direct marketing partner. There's an algorithm that goes in and reads that our database with those configurations, and then randomly brings those wines to the portal page, the front page of the site, in a ongoing algorithm rotation. So your brand is featured on the front page of the site. Not engaging the DMP program, that would not happen. In addition to that, for all new wineries that do enter the DMP program, we give you immediate brand exposure in a little thing underneath our sommeliers picks that says new partners. And your winery logo or a specific label that you want comes up into a rotation. So that's what it takes to get yourself in, the things you need to do, the tools that are available to you to market your product, and the add-on programs that can help you sell wine either in the tasting room or in the on the internet. And that's it. Yeah.